Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're tuning in today because we are getting into something truly wild. We're decoding a dense, honestly kind of mind-bending philosophical and physical theory known as the principle of linguistic reducibility. If you've ever found yourself just staring off, wondering about the actual fundamental fabric of existence, you are in the exact right place. We're going to break this whole text down step by step and map out how this theory completely reimagines the universe as we know it. So let's just start with a massive question. What if reality isn't made of matter at all, but of language? Seriously, take a second to just sit with that. We are all so used to this baseline assumption that there's an objective universe out there, totally independent of us, made of hard physical stuff, atoms, rocks, stars. But the text we're diving into today completely challenges that. It asks us to look past the illusion of pure matter and consider that the deepest, most foundational level of reality might actually be structural. To really set the stage for this paradigm shift, check out this aphorism derived right from our source text. Whereof that which cannot be linguistically described, one cannot perceive or conceive. Now, that lays down a pretty hard boundary. It's basically telling us that for the purposes of science and reality theory, anything that's non-isomorphic, meaning it doesn't share a structural form with language, is completely off the table. It literally cannot be considered a component of reality. If you can't describe it, perceive it, or conceive of it using a linguistic structure, it just isn't part of the real world. It's kind of like trying to play a video game on a console that literally doesn't have the code to run it. It's just not going to render. Okay, let's dive into section 1. Is reality a language? We're going to tackle the text's primary, radical claim right out of the gate. The core premise is stated directly. Reality is a self-contained form of language. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Reality feels pretty concrete to me. Like if you stub your toe on a table, that sure doesn't feel like a sentence, right? But the text argues that while reality obviously has material and concrete aspects, its fundamental underlying architecture conforms perfectly to the definition of a language. It isn't just described by language, it actually is a self-contained language. To really get how this works, we need to clarify some dense jargon here. The big word is isomorphism. Sounds intimidating, but it simply means a structural mapping between a theory and objective reality. Think of it like a blueprint and a physical house. Science is basically this ongoing reductionist program, right? Always trying to reduce the universe down to a theoretical language. Well, if physics points to things like matter or energy using math equations, the universe actually must share that exact structural code. Otherwise, the math simply wouldn't work. The blueprint has to match the house. If reality didn't share that linguistic structure, scientific theory literally couldn't map onto it. Moving on to section 2, the grammar of reality. Let's look at the algebraic proof the text provides to show exactly how the universe fits this mathematical mold. So the text lays out the precise algebraic definition of a language, and it argues that reality checks every single one of these boxes. First off, reality incorporates representations of object-like individuals, space-like relations, and time-like functions and operations. You can think of these as the nouns, adjectives, and verbs of the universe. Second, it has a set of expressions, which equate directly to perceptual states. And third, it has a syntax. This syntax is made up of logical and geometric rules of structure, plus a generative grammar, which honestly is just a really fancy way of describing the physical laws of state transition. When a physical system evolves from one second to the next, it is literally following the generative grammar of reality. All right, buckle up, because here is a massive term, a syndefinic relation. Let's unpack this. Normally, we think language and reality are totally fundamentally different things. But this concept shows us they actually aren't strangers at all. They're cut from the exact same cloth. Because they both emerge from the same underlying syntactic medium, they share a fundamental structural DNA. It's like looking at two completely different ice sculptures. Yeah, they look different on the surface, but they're both just made of water. Because they manifest from this same underlying medium, they're structurally related at the deepest possible level. Which leads us perfectly into the reality principle. It states that reality contains all and only that which is real. Sounds like a no-duh statement, doesn't it? But the text uses this to prove that reality is totally self-contained. The rules of the universe and the physical stuff inside the universe are basically one and the same on the level of cognitive perceptual syntax. Because of this, things like Occam's razor, the idea that the simplest explanation is usually the best one, aren't just convenient ideas that humans made up. They are fundamental rules, basically tautologies, built right into the fabric of the cosmos. Section 3, the isomorphism of mind. Now, what's really fascinating here is how we transition from all this abstract math directly back to your own mind. Let's walk through these logical steps together. Step 1. Perception is a sensory intersect of mind and reality. Makes sense. Step 2. You literally cannot have perception without cognition. And because perception and cognition are essentially languages themselves, we hit Step 3. The cognitive predicate reality equates directly to its perceptual content. So what does this actually mean for us? It means that in a perceptual reality like ours, the basic language of cognition is, by definition, syntactically isomorphic to reality itself. Your mind's language and the universe's language share the exact same structural code. All right, Section 4, Beyond Particles, looking at syntactic operators. We are talking about a massive, fundamental shift in how we view the physical universe here. And this brilliantly illustrates the divide. Over in conventional physics, everything relies on point particles, waves, and strings as fundamental entities, and we know those carry a ton of their own paradoxes and headaches. But in this new linguistic framework, which the source refers to as the CTMU, the fundamental building blocks are syntactic operators. These are units of self-transducing information. The text calls it infocognition. So instead of just sitting there inertly in space like a tiny billiard ball, these units actively process themselves as information. Why does all this matter? Well, shifting to this linguistic perspective is absolutely indispensable if we ever want to understand teleology, which is purpose or design, or really any form of meaning in the universe. These syntactic operators are incredible because they actually contain these syntactic structures they must conform to. That resolves the old paradoxes of particle physics. And by proving that meaning equates to semantic connectivity, we realize that meaning itself is fundamentally linguistic. Without this lens, trying to describe a truly meaningful universe is practically impossible. Section 5, a self-recognizing universe. We're in the final stretch, and I want to highlight the ultimate, almost poetic realization this text brings us to. The text makes this incredible claim. Reality, everywhere, recognizes itself. Because we've established that we can speak of reality in terms of generalized cognition, meaning the universe conforms to cognition on a structural, syntactic level, it means the cosmos is not just a dead, inert, ticking machine. Through this generalized cognition, the universe is actively engaged in a constant, everywhere happening process of self-recognition. It is, quite literally, a universe waking up to itself. So, to summarize this entire journey we've been on, we have to reinforce one final, mind-expanding definition. Reality is a linguistic, self-contained syntophontonic relation. We started off assuming the universe was just dead matter, and we've arrived at a universe that is a living language, structurally unified, actively processing its own information and recognizing itself. We're looking at reality from a fundamentally new perspective. But, and there's always a but, as the text warns, we're still looking at this from an external vantage point, which leaves us with this incredible, provocative cliffhanger straight from the author. Where do we go next in search of clues without a map? I'll leave you to ponder exactly what that map might look like. Thank you all so much for exploring this with me today. Keep learning, keep questioning everything, and I'll see you in the next explainer.